South Africa is sitting on a ticking time bomb. Economic growth is stagnant, unemployment is crushing, infrastructure is crumbling, and public trust is hanging by a thread. But behind the scenes, in war rooms filled with spreadsheets, legislation, and political negotiations, a bold initiative is trying to pull the country back from the brink. It's called Operation Vulindlela, a name that means to clear the way. And if it succeeds, it could unlock South Africa's economic potential in ways not seen since the dawn of democracy. But if it fails, it could bury the last hopes of reform under a mountain of red tape, excuses, and political infighting. This is not just policy. This is a battle for the country's future. And before we break it down for you, smash that subscribe button right now, because SA Unfiltered brings you the real stories behind the speeches, raw, unfiltered, and without spin. Launched in late 2020 as a partnership between the Presidency and National Treasury, Operation Vulindlela was never supposed to be just another task force. It was designed as a delivery mechanism, a direct intervention to cut through South Africa's bureaucratic jungle and fast-track structural reforms that had been stuck in policy paralysis for years. These reforms aren't nice-to-haves. They are the bedrock of any functional economy: electricity, water, rail, ports, spectrum, visas, and ease of doing business. For decades, South Africa's growth has been handcuffed by a slow, bloated state unable to implement even its own best ideas. Vulindlela was supposed to change that, by targeting bottlenecks and smashing them with speed and precision. So, what has actually happened? On paper, more than 15 major reforms are being tracked, with several already showing progress. The energy sector has arguably seen the most dramatic shift. Thanks to Vulindlela's push, the limit on self-generation without a license was scrapped, unleashing an explosion of private energy projects. From rooftop solar to utility-scale wind farms, South Africans are no longer waiting for Eskom to save them, they're taking power generation into their own hands. Thousands of megawatts are already in the pipeline, and the transmission grid is being opened up to allow private producers to feed electricity directly into the national system. But it's not just energy. One of Vulindlela's top priorities has been spectrum allocation, a reform that had been delayed for nearly a decade. In 2022, spectrum was finally auctioned, freeing up high-speed bandwidth for mobile networks and unlocking billions in investment. The result? Faster internet, cheaper data, and new opportunities for digital entrepreneurship across the country. Small businesses in rural towns are now able to operate online like never before, while fintech and e-commerce companies are scaling at unprecedented speed. Water infrastructure has also come into focus, with Vulindlela driving the shift toward professionalizing municipal water services. A new National Water Resources Infrastructure Agency is being established to manage bulk water systems and ensure clean, reliable supply for both urban areas and agriculture. For a drought-prone nation where access to water can make or break entire economies, this reform isn't just administrative, it's existential. Then there's the visa regime. For years, South Africa has made it notoriously hard for skilled foreign workers and remote professionals to settle legally and contribute to the economy. Vulindlela has pushed for new visa categories, streamlined processing, and digital applications to make the system faster and more competitive. The goal is to attract scarce talent in sectors like engineering, medicine, and technology, all while making it easier for digital nomads and international investors to bring their skills and capital into the country. In logistics, Vulindlela is working hand in glove with reforms at Transnet to open up rail and port infrastructure to private players. These changes are critical to reducing the cost of moving goods, increasing exports, and attracting new industries. The system has been strangled for too long by inefficiencies, corruption, and vandalism. Now, with independent infrastructure managers and transparent access rules, there is a real chance to build a logistics backbone worthy of a modern economy. But for every win, there are still walls. Implementation is slow, fragmented, and constantly under political pressure. Some state departments resist change, fearing loss of control or exposure of incompetence. Others simply lack the skills or urgency to execute. And in some cases, vested interests, inside and outside the ruling party, are actively sabotaging reforms that threaten their profits and power. The public, meanwhile, remains skeptical. They've heard too many promises, seen too many blueprints, and watched too many task teams disappear into history without delivering results. For Vulindlela to be more than just another line in the State of the Nation address, it needs to produce visible change, in the tap that works, in the light that stays on, in the business that can finally get a permit, in the job that finally opens up. People are tired of plans. They want proof. To its credit, Operation Vulindlela publishes quarterly updates and reform scorecards, offering some of the most transparent government reporting in recent history. But transparency alone isn't victory. The real question is, can this machine deliver fast enough to outpace the damage already done? Because while the reforms grind forward, the unemployment rate remains above 30%, youth unemployment is near 60%, and investor confidence is paper thin. If Vulindlela stalls now, it won't just be a setback, it will be a signal that reform in South Africa is a fantasy, not a policy. That's why SA Unfiltered will stay locked on this story. We'll dig into every update, call out every delay, and spotlight every success and failure, because what happens with Operation Vulindlela will shape the next decade of South African life. If you care about jobs, about growth, about a future beyond rolling blackouts and stagnant wages, then this story is your story.